Hello, my friends. This is Jim with the National Savings Foundation, and I'm here in Arizona, and of course behind me, that's the Grand Canyon. Spectacular. But I wanted to spend just a minute talking to you about the National Savings Foundation as long as I'm here. When we were in Washington, I made the observation that asking the young people of this country to put up $35 trillion over the course of the next 25 years to take care of me and my 80 million best friends wasn't necessarily that great of an idea. And I suggested we ought to think about trying something else, because it certainly would be a lot better for the country if over the course of the next 25 years we were able to add $130 trillion worth of wealth to the savings of America's working poor and middle class. And then when I was in New York, I told you that probably of the three choices, that is either going out and borrowing the money in the market, or going to our children and borrowing that $35 trillion from them, or going to the wealthiest people in this country and asking them to put up the money, that going to the wealthiest people made the most sense. Now, I'm a conservative and I'm Republican, but the bottom line on this whole thing is that, it seems to me that if we can do something about reducing the national debt by taxing people to fund Social Security and Medicare who we never have to pay back, well, that's a good deal. Here in the Grand Canyon, I want to offer you another idea, because several people have come back to me and said, that's not particularly fair. And I said, what's not fair? Well, it's not fair to ask the richest people in the country to pay 40% of every dollar they make in excess of $120,000 and effectively pay all the taxes that are required to fund the federal government. Because, as we've discussed, there's $9 trillion of income that can be taxed, and 40% of that is $3.6 trillion. So effectively what we're going to do is we give everybody in the country $120,000 standard deduction. Well, that means the richest people in the country are now paying the tab for the entire government. And so, of course, some of my friends out there say, well, wait a second, Jim, that's not very fair. But, of course, what they don't take into consideration is that over the last 80 years, that is from 1935 to the present, when Dow Jones Industrial Average had a value of 104 and is now at 26,000. Well, during that period of time when America's working class, the poor, and the middle class, when they were putting up $20 trillion to fund Social Security and Medicare, well, because they were paying the tab for Social Security and Medicare, the richest people in the country, they weren't having to pay that bill. So for the last 80 years, they've been able to invest that $20 trillion. And today, that $20 trillion is worth, that's right, about $100 trillion or more in accumulated wealth. That's where the wealth gap in the United States came from. We gave the people who were the richest people in the country the opportunity to save and invest large shares of their income, while America's working poor and middle class foot the bill for entitlements. And in the process of having them foot that bill, we basically robbed them of their savings and their ability to participate in a market that went from 104 in 1935 to over 26,000 today. But that didn't happen to the richest people in the country, because they have been able to invest that additional savings that they were able to generate because they had capital gains or dividends or interest income, and none of that income obviously is taxed for Social Security, nor is income in this particular year in excess of $132,000. So someone like LeBron James, who makes $100 million a year, well, he's only paying Social Security taxes on the first $132,000. The other $99,900,000 isn't taxed. And the only reason he doesn't have to put up $13 or $14 million to fund Social Security is because he's got 4,000 to 5,000 kids making $10 an hour paying that $3,100 charge. Because at the end of the day, my generation, that is 80 million baby boomers, we need $35 trillion over the course of the next 25 years just to survive, because, well, we put up $17 trillion, and now our kids are going to have to come up with $2 to take care of us. And in the meantime, the richest people in the country, well, they put away literally $70 trillion over the course of the last 35 years that we didn't get, because they were able to invest their $17 trillion while we were paying the Social Security taxes. So the bottom line is this. I'm not asking the wealthiest people in the country to return any of that money. I'm not asking for a wealth tax on $100 trillion worth of accumulated wealth. But going forward, I see no reason why they can't pay 40% of all their $9 trillion of income that they're currently generating. So every person in America can take that $120,000 that they are earning and use that money for themselves and their families, and that Social Security money, that 15.3% that they and their employers pay, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be investing that right alongside the richest people in the country. So over the course of the next 25 years, we transfer $130 trillion of wealth back to the working poor middle class. The option, or the alternative, is to do nothing and essentially grow the wealth gap by another $130 trillion, because I think, as I've told you, this is a zero-sum game. The people who pay the tax lose the opportunity to invest the money. And so that means if we're going to allow the wealthy to continue on the program that they're on, the wealth gap in this country is going to grow by another $130 trillion. This is Jim for the National Savings Foundation. What do you want to do? You want to fix the country, or you want to continue to see the national debt grow and the wealth gap increase to a point where no one can accept the levels anymore? This is Jim for the National Savings Foundation. Have a great day.